Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra 1 year later. So I won't have this phone very long because I'm trading it in on the S24 Ultra for that major discount. Some people not calling it a discount, saying it's just you selling the phone. But long story short, you still get the discounted price point. But this phone right here, I want to begin by talking about the battery life. If you're looking for a phone with really good battery life, this should be at the top of your list. After a year of using this phone, the battery life on it has been absolutely incredible comparatively to some of my prior Samsung experiences, which weren't always the best. But due to the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 efficiency in here, and due to the ability to have, even more RAM and Samsung optimizing the One UI experience, the Galaxy S23 Ultra became a phone that was one of my higher ones on the battery tier list. But a lot of times the battery starts out very good on the Samsung and then it doesn't do so well after a while. But this one wasn't that case. The next thing is the cameras here. Been a ton of phones coming out with different cameras and all that stuff. But these right here have always been sitting at the top of my list for the 10 times optical zoom. This thing is insane. Having that amount of zoom with that sharpness. Now, some people are annoyed that Samsung took this out and went to a 5x optical lens. However, keep in mind that the 10 times will still be here on the S24 Ultra because they're going to be cropping in with AI to get a similar result. So even though you have an actual optical lens here, the S24 Ultra is still going to give you pretty similar to the same results. But in the camera area, the thing that really struck me is just all the features it comes with. The director's view was one I actually used in a couple of videos. You guys said you didn't really like when I had it was distracting that I had the screen up here while we were showing the phone. So I didn't do too many, but it was kind of fun to use. I like that I had a pro mode. It made this feel like I can really take advantage. Samsung used to make actual cameras, so having they stopped doing that to put all their efforts into mobile, and it's kind of paying off here because now you're getting 200 megapixel camera on here, which is insane resolution if you want to print out and stuff like that. You have 50 megapixel and all the settings right here in the camera. Pro, video, portrait, it's all here. And then on the front facing, I always like the softer look. And if you have you don't got to see every little wrinkle, my smile wrinkle, whatever on the face. You don't got to see everything because they have a pretty soft image, but some people don't like soft imagery. They do have different filters you could change. You can beautify the face if you want to. I don't really like doing that. You could change between natural and warm. So if you want that iPhone look, you can go a little bit more warm. If you like that, you can back it out and get more people in the frame. The camera was dope. Also, I like the little palm capture feature. So you could just kind of put your hand there right now, but you could do the little palm capture like that and it'll take the photo. And that's a pretty cool touch. In addition, you can use the S Pen to take a photo with the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Pretty nice. In addition, this phone right here's camera has the ability to just kind of flip like this with one flick of the finger and you're back to the other side. So pretty cool. You can also drag the shutter key out and bring it up. I probably turn that setting off. But if you go into settings here, advanced intelligence options, they're going to be bringing some more AI stuff here, even to the S23 Ultra. So a year later, the camera actually has gotten better due to the upgrades in the One UI 6.0. So definitely quite nice here. The next thing that really struck me about the Galaxy S23 Ultra has been the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. You can go back and take a look at some of the comparisons with even the latest 15 Pro Max, the 14 Pro Max. This was the only Android phone that basically was boss statusing on most of them. And what that means is beating a lot of them. This phone never was slow, never slowed down. And some people say, well, Samsung gets slow over time. Well, not anymore. The S23 Ultra was not one of those devices that did that. This chipset, while last year's flagship, is now going to become like an upper mid-range this year and get you phones that are nice, fast, and cheaper. 12 gigs of RAM, not the 16 you'll find in phones like OnePlus and some other, Chinese phones, but it's still, it's still very quick and it never really slowed down. The RAM was enough for just hopping through applications. I never really had no issues with doing that stuff. And also if you want to do pop view and stuff like that, they haven't had issues with this in a long time. Like this has never been a problem, even on slower Samsung products, but this one can just run it all just a little bit better just because it has that extra power. Display experience on the Galaxy S23 Ultra 1 year later was superb in terms of just a wider display. So if you are, looking at certain things like the calendar, for example, having a wider calendar using the S Pen to go ahead and write on calendar, stuff like this, means you could circle things and be like, oil change, whatever you're putting down here, you could just, it's just a nice wide canvas to do that. Also, if I go ahead and let's get out of here. Also, if you take a look here, we'll see that there's a nice wide canvas to go ahead and do writing of things. So Galaxy S23 Ultra. Now, I do like that the S24 Ultra that's coming to the channel next week definitely has, no curve on the edge. It's more flat. But at the same time, this is pretty awesome as well, that you have a nice 19:9 aspect ratio. It also means that when you are looking at imagery and stuff like that, that you just have a wider canvas in that sense. In addition, if you are using the keyboard is just a wider typing experience than some other narrower Android phones out there. Hey, what is up? So this is one of the things I notice every time I use this S23 Ultra is just a massively wide keyboard. It's just a super easy and fun to use. Hold on. Some people prefer the Gboard, but fun to use keyboard. It's just it's easy, like just because of the width of this phone. That definitely is one of the benefits of having such a big panel, is that right there, the keyboard. It was really great. Also incredibly premium. I will say though that the aluminum edges never really struck me as more premium looking than like stainless steel on the iPhone, but I appreciate how much more clean they stayed, especially on this limited edition. This was a super clean red and black. However, I didn't really like this red color too much because I don't feel like it's a true red. I'm more into a vibrant red, like on the 14 Plus. Some people really dislike that, but for me, this is not a true red. It looks kind of like a coral or an orange. So that's one of the main reasons I'm deciding to trade this in too, because it's not my favorite color. And I went with the titanium, the titanium looking S24 Ultra, which I quite like. So yeah, the body and the build though, several different colors came for this. Clean on the back, clean on the edges. Again, certain models will probably look a little bit more smudgy depending. Certain models might not look as clean as this red and black one, but that just depends on the color you get. Overall though, just a sturdy big phone. I will say though, this is not the most comfortable. It's actually one of the least comfortable phones, I would say, in terms of large phones out there to hold. There are more uncomfortable phones, but there are phones that are much better in terms of ergonomics than this. This is not really my favorite for ergonomics. It's a big square rectangle brick in my pocket, but it's also a big beast in my pocket that does all the computing tasks and many more that other phones just aren't capable of. So like Dex, for example, and like having an S Pen and like having enough space that if you want to do, things on the go, you can do those things. While I do think the Z Fold is better for that, this is still a great, standard smartphone option to do stuff like that. Now, when it comes to the software experience, I actually just got this January update super late, like about a few days ago. So it's kind of weird. I wanted to leave it for this video that I didn't update it just to show you. One UI 6 January security patch. They've been on top of the software updates all year long since I've had this. However, they've been a little bit slow with the rollout. It's not like consistent rollout everywhere. That's just the way it is with Samsung phones. Sometimes you got to wait in certain regions. You'll see a video online, software update, and they're showcasing the update, but then you look on your phone and it's still not there. Kind of weird. I don't really like that. I wish I could get it like where everyone gets it at the same time. That would massively improve the experience, but they've also massively improved the fact that they're bringing software updates more regularly to at least the flagship phones, and then later on it comes down to the A-line and other stuff like that. But definitely it's been good there. The actual software itself, I don't have a lot to talk about because it's kind of just still the Samsung experience. The One UI 6 was a big change when it comes to fonts, when it comes to some features. They changed the quick panel layout. It's been pretty good, but we already talked about One UI 6. It's Samsung through and through, and they're definitely refining it. The One UI 6 has really been This is one of the few phones this year that I felt like I had a big change with the software. The One UI 6 just felt like a much bigger change and some, iOS updates, for example. So it was nice to get that on here. But you still have your theming options, customization. It's Samsung through and through. You have the Google apps and the Samsung apps. If you want all this stuff in one, if you want everything in the kitchen sink and software, this is kind of it, But not the most polished, I would say, and not the most minimalistic in my experience. This is more function over form, I would say. It's more about the use case. Are you going to use this phone heavy? It comes through. But for me, it's not the most minimal. It's a little bit more complicated, especially if you haven't used it before. If you have used it, it's nothing. But if you haven't used Samsung before coming over here, it has a learning curve for sure. Performance issues, no. Like heat, I'm talking about heat. No real heat issues. But they did improve the heat in the next version. So it's going to be even cooler on the S24 Ultra for heavier gaming. So basically, S24 Ultra is becoming like a gaming phone, essentially, with their improved cooling that they're putting in these phones these days. The audio performance was also very good, but it was noticeably better when you went ahead and turned on the Dolby Atmos. So over here on the Dolby Atmos section, if I had this off, it was noticeably quieter. So find this section in your S23 Ultra if you buy one and turn it on, because play with the different modes. You can leave it on auto if you want it easy, but play with the different modes and you will find yourself having much louder audio than usual. I really like this landscape mode too. Most phones don't do this anymore. Pixel still does it, which is awesome. But the landscape mode, this is amazing. It's like having a little tablet in your hand and you don't have to go flipping back to portrait when you're doing stuff in the landscape. I love that Samsung still offers this here on their phones. Call quality and reception strength was very good. But the thing that I really notice about the S23 Ultra is the 5G performance seems to be a little bit better than other phones. This is one of the best when it comes to mobile performance out there, period. It feels like it always has a little bit more strength with the 5G signal than I had with my other phones. It's just that good. So that's all I got to mention about that a year later. When it comes to the charging speeds with the Galaxy S23 Ultra, they're not the fastest. OnePlus phones blow this phone out of the water in charging speed. However, this blows the iPhone out of the water in charging speed, and it has reverse wireless charging and fast wireless charging. However, some people don't want this crazy 80 to 100 watt charging, but I love it. It takes like 20 minutes and the freaking phone is like almost fully charged. So this is not the fastest charging phone out there, but it's also not the slowest. It's still fast enough. It wasn't an issue, is what I'm saying, but it doesn't blow me away either. So price and value. Right now, people are going to be getting rid of the Galaxy S23 Ultra for some much lower prices. So let's go take a look at them here. You'll see $592, $547. Wow, if somebody is willing to get rid of their S23 Ultra at, that was actually the S23, sorry. If they're willing to get rid of their S23 Ultra, $889, that's still kind of high. But if it's under $800, that's going to be a steal right there. Yeah, so, if you have a trade-in phone, though, I would say go straight to the S24 Ultra. But if you're looking to get this used on a deal, because this is what you're looking for and you're not trading in a phone, the S23 Ultra, as the price comes down, is going to be a much better option than like last year with the S22 Ultra. And that's because they improved the battery life. They improved the overall efficiency. This phone is near perfection. It's kind of reminding me of like a 13 Pro Max, but for the Samsung world. So, how the 13 Pro Max was so good. It was still good. People still like it today. This is that type of phone if you like Samsung phones. So for sure, the S23 Ultra is one of those phones that, is one of those that you're going to remember as one of the best Samsung has made. I feel like it was probably the best since the Note line. And in conclusion, 1 year later, S23 Ultra was near flawless. It really was. There was really almost nothing wrong with this phone. I will say I don't like the PWM on this phone. It did irritate my eyes a little bit, the flicker that you can't really see. Only the cameras can pick it up. That was literally the only issue. The vibrancy of the display did give me a migraine once in a while. But other than that, it was near a flawless phone. So the S24 Ultra does not really make a lot of, things that are going to make it any worse. It actually gets better. So the S24 Ultra is just this added on top. So yeah, that's my take 1 year later. This is one of my final reviews on the S23 Ultra. So let me know your thoughts, any questions, comments, concerns, and what you're going to do going forward. Are you picking up the S23 Ultra, or are you picking up the S24 Ultra, or are you still thinking about the S22 Ultra? Let me know down below in the comments. I'll catch you on the next one. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.